Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a rut? Like there's a change that you want to make in your life. I mean, it could be job related or education. It could be a relationship you want to pursue or put an end to. Or it could be something to do with weight loss or wellness, but you can't quite commit. You can't seem to pull the trigger. Something in your brain jumps up and says, no change for you. Ever been there? Why is it so hard to initiate positive changes in our own lives? I'm Coach Dave, and I've been helping people cultivate mental and metabolic health for over 10 years. So what's the problem? So here we are, we're trying to finally make that change, but somewhere inside, it's like there's an internal emergency brake that gets pulled every time we suggest something new. Man, I should launch that new business. Brake. I should make those sales calls. Brake. I should take dance lessons or go to the chiropractor or landscape the backyard. Brake. Or how about this one? I should re-examine and maybe update my political or religious beliefs. Brake! Man, you can smell those brakes. It's frustrating, but in a way, the brake feels like a comforting, sensible thing only because it seeks to preserve what's familiar, what is and has been up until the present moment, what we have accepted as truth or normal. But what may actually be going on is the prevention of our own progress toward growth. And if we're not growing, we're dying. It begs the question, who on earth is pulling that emergency brake? Well, let's put that aside for a moment. We'll get back to that. And we're going to talk about a thing called stasis. In his book, Save the Cat, which is a book for screenwriters and other storytellers, author Blake Snyder talks about a common story beat, which is just writer speak for a moment that happens in a story. And he calls this beat stasis equals death. Think of Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, where he expresses his desire to join the rebellion and Uncle Owen shutting him down. So Luke goes, I want to follow the spirit of adventure and join a community where I can willingly contribute my efforts and expertise to a collective enterprise that might have a beneficial impact for all mankind. No, Luke, stay in the desert alone with your toys and toil your life away in an endless exercise in futility, extracting value from an atmosphere that offers none until you're so set in your ways that you have no choice but to continue until that bitter end when you can lay your head on the pillow for the last time and exclaim, I tried. Okay, it's a little on the nose, as they say. But when you say it like that, you can really feel it. We can also talk about how, in the movie, Luke was tacitly on board with stasis in the form of familial obligation, and it wasn't until his aunt and uncle literally died that he was free to make an independent choice about his future, to pursue or follow the spirit of adventure. But think about this. What if, even after his family's death, he decided to stay on Tatooine? Hey, this real estate has some inherent value, and this enterprise, dismal as it is, might just sustain my subsistence. Why don't I just ignore the spirit of adventure and instead remain here in isolation, eking out a living because somehow it feels noble or it honors my family heritage and it would most closely match the life I've lived up until now. And then he sacrificed the future that could have been for a distorted vision of normal because it's the only life he knows and he lacks the courage and vision he needs to go all in and create a new life. What would that movie have been like? There probably wouldn't have been any sequels. So let's get back to that question. Who is pulling our internal emergency brake? For us, it's not Uncle Owen holding us back. It's our own conditioned mind. Uncle Owen is just an externalized embodiment of the conditioned mind. Author Eckhart Tolle refers to this as the ego, which is not to be confused with that inflated or bloated sense of self-worth often associated with the word ego. Hubris or self-aggrandizement, but it's our conditioned mind. So what is this ego or conditioned mind, and why is this a thing we should be aware of? Ego is our brain's way of trying to keep us safe. It does this by looking back and observing our life experience, our personal history, and then projecting all that into the future as the only sensible life path for us, and doing everything it can to keep all thoughts and behaviors in alignment with that past life trajectory. Why? Well, we survived yesterday, right? Then stay on the path. Run yesterday's program again, and more than likely we'll survive today too. Over time, we come to think of our ego as our identity because in some very real ways, we are what we do, especially what we do repeatedly. For better or for worse, we create grooves in our lives, and ego tries to keep us in those grooves. We forget that we can choose a different path at any moment because the groove we're in has become comfortable through familiarity. And let's face it, when you veer off that path, you can feel it. That's that handbrake sensation we talked about. It's ego keeping you in check. Now, when it becomes toxic, and by toxic I mean detrimental not only to self, but others around us, is when we convince ourselves that our ego is right. This is expressed through the forceful projection of thoughts and ideas and beliefs onto others and expecting or demanding that they conform their way of being to our way of being and threatening retribution if they fail to comply. As Eckhart Tolle also said, the need to be right is a form of violence. So what's the solution? If we want change in our life, and by change I mean exercising our own agency, taking action to make desirable things happen, we have to subdue or subjugate our ego and overwrite it when necessary to course correct in the direction of our desired future. We can't kill it, but we can take charge of our life and put ego in its rightful place, in the back seat, and not behind the wheel. Ego involves emotional attachment too. It feels right to do the same thing over and over, not because it's beneficial or inherently good, but because it's familiar. Vices feel as good as virtues when you practice them long enough. But think of ego and emotions like they're children. You want to acknowledge them and listen to them and get to know them, but you do not want to hand them the keys to the car. So instead of saying, I'm stuck or I'm paralyzed, say, there's a paralysis or spirit of stasis that seeks to keep me where I am, and I must take it upon myself to subdue it. I know, it's a mouthful. But that differentiation makes a difference. The former says, I am, and ascribes negative attributes to oneself, whereas the latter says there is something outside of myself that wants to exert control over my life. But I, as a moral agent, have it within me to contend with this negative force and overcome it in order to change or grow or move forward into a future I am excited to pursue with intention. Or if you don't feel you have what it takes to contend with this negative force, appeal to your higher power. Aim up for guidance and assistance such as it may offer. In either case, you are the one taking it upon yourself to contend with the negative force either directly through your own actions or indirectly through a spiritual agent. Now that you have this insight, when you can feel it happening, you can feel that emergency brake slowing your momentum, you can pause for a moment of awareness and ask yourself, should I be letting my ego pull the emergency brake right now? Or should I release it and move forward out of yesterday's groove? Moving out of the grooves and ruts of our history will always take extra effort. The secret? Don't expect it to be easy. It won't be. But with practice and determination, you can develop the strength necessary to step out of the groove and onto the uncharted path towards your desired future with increasing levels of ease. And eventually, when enough of that new path is in the rearview mirror, you've carved some new grooves for yourself, your ego will fight to preserve that too. When that happens, ego is in its right place and it becomes your ally, helping you stay on the path toward the future you actually want. I hope this is helpful. If it is, share it with someone you care about. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and stories in the comments below. This is the kind of thing I'm writing about in my new book, which is going to be released later this year. If you'd like to join the waitlist, visit me online at mycoachdave.net.